Hello all my JavaScript friends, this is the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is Fun with JavaScript, our cache defense game. Well, welcome to project number 2 of our 2023 series, our cache defense game. Now, what's a cache defense game? Well, it's basically a tower defense game. Now, I can't use the word tower defense because that's actually copyrighted, but you get the idea. So the thing is, a couple months ago, I downloaded Rogue Tower. Great little game, loved it. And when I was playing it, just like with a lot of other things I've seen, I keep thinking, can we do this within JavaScript? And of course, the second part of me thought, yeah, we could do that. So this is the result of all that. So of course, I can't use the word tower defense. So I had to search around for a name, so I used the word cache defense. Cache being like a cache of gold. So the idea here basically will be very simple. You have a cache that you are defending. You put up certain structures to be able to take out enemies as they come down a pathway to attack your cache. You get upgrades along the way. You get different towers along the way, or different structures along the way, and the enemies get larger and tougher and greater in number and all that until your cache finally is completely conquered. At that point, you just rest assured that you got through, let's say, I don't know, 49 rounds before it crashed on you. Something like that is very, very simple. Now, how are we going to program this? Well, first of all, before we do anything else, this is out on GitHub. It is a public repository, so everything that I write is free to you. MIT license, use it however you want. You want to call it your own, go right ahead. Just give me credit for it. But the repository is going to be done. It is FWJS-cache, C-A-C-H-E cache defense. My brain just left me there for a second. It's listed right there. That's where it's listed. FWJS-cache defense. So go to that, clone it out, get updates for it as I start working on it, and you can kind of keep track of where I am with this. So what are we going to do with this? How is it going to work? Well, first of all, we're going to have to build the absolute basics of the game itself. And for that, I'm going to be using TDD. That stands for Test Driven Design. And basically what that means is that through my test, I'm going to structure the test in such a way that as the application is tested, it will force me to design it a certain way. The idea behind TDD is to write a test to say, this program is going to do certain. When you run that test, of course, it's going to fail because you haven't written any code yet. Then you write the code to be able to make that test pass. And once that test passes, you then refactor your code to make it look prettier, because the idea is you just chunk out the code to make it actually work. Then you make it look a lot prettier. And so eventually the idea here is if you use your test to be able to design your system well enough, then once you're finished with it, your coding is pretty much done. Then it's just gravy on top of that. So we're going to write tests to be able to control what the cache looks like, what the server is going to look like, the server being basically the game controller, what the player is going to look like, what the enemies are going to look like, what the structure is going to look like, what the playing field is going to look like. All that kind of fun stuff is going to be TDD, test-driven development, to be able to ensure that we've got it the way we want it to be designed. The second thing here is I'm going to use something I've not really used a lot before. That's called web workers, because I was thinking through this. There's going to be a lot of communications with the game between the game itself, the players, the enemies, the structure, the playing field, and all that. And it would work a whole lot better if we could do asynchronous eventing between all of that. Now, if we can take all of that core logic and put that inside of a web worker, and then just have the graphics within the DOM section, and then have those communicate with each other, in theory, that should be as fast as efficient as possible. Because if we're going to have a ton of different enemies and a ton of different structures out there, and a large field eventually, if you go to higher enough levels, we're going to need to try to make this code as efficient as possible. So I thought, let's give this a try. Let's shove everything that is not graphics related into a web worker, maybe into multiple web workers, so they all can be as independent of each other as possible. And then just use communication pipes between them and the graphics on the DOM to be able to get as fast as possible. Will it work? I don't know. That's half the fun of this thing. We try a couple of things, If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, we keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking until we get it as most efficient as possible. So to recap, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing TDD, test-driven development, to design our systems, and we're going to be working a great deal with web workers and asynchronous communications to try to get the most efficient communications possible between the logic of the game and the graphics. And that is pretty much it for our tower defense, cache defense type game. So I hope you join me in this adventure to create this tower defense, cache defense type game. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you like this video, please click on the like button below, subscribe to this channel, or leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers by the end of 2024, so help me out here. I really need it. And again, thank you so very much for watching. This is The Virtual White, aka Mike Smith. We'll see you later.